Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated and remain seated until the podium group and the band have withdrawn.
I can only scary.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge the following people. His Excellency President Ramaphosa, Makosi Abunam, Murena Nemugolo, Bimufumahati, Murena Timam Mubedi, the House of Traditional Leaders, the Chairperson Murena Mubedi, the Deputy Chairperson Kosi Abui Levi Muronga. I would like to acknowledge the Premier of the Free State, Mayor Victoria Matari. I would like to acknowledge the ministers and the deputy ministers, the ambassadors and high commissioners. I would like to acknowledge the members of the executive councils, and also the generals and the director generals, the HODs, senior management of departments, and all of us, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I'll call on the podium the Premier of the Free State, Mayor Victoria Matari, to come and give us an opening and welcome for the program.
Cyril Ramaphosa, ministers present here today, deputy ministers, members of the Executive Council,
talk to someone you wish that I could.
Introduce Minister wa rona Ntate Mackenzie, Minister wa Sports, Arts and Culture, o le moagi wa Mangaung as well, ho tla ho emelisa Mopresidente wa rona Ntate Cyril Ramaphosa. Heita Ramaphosa, heita! Dumela Ramaphosa, dumela! Heita Ramaphosa, heita! Hello President, hello! So ka letsatsi lena la Freedom Day, re tlo kopa Ntate Mackenzie to come to the podium. I had a few remarks, and then ha a fetsa a amogele le go bitsa Mopresidente wa rona wa naga Ntate Cyril Ramaphosa go tla go share le rona molaetsa o botlhokwa wa rona wa Freedom Day. Ke a leboga. Ramaphosa dumela, Ramaphosa dumela, Ramaphosa dumela, dumela, iyo dumela, Presidente dumela, Presidente President Dumela, Dumela. Ramaphosa Dumela, Ramaphosa Dumela, Ramaphosa Dumela, Dumela. Happy Freedom Day, happy!
Hala batho ba Bloemfontein, hala batho ba Botshabelo, hala batho ba Botshabelo ba teng mona, hala batho ba Botshabelo, hala batho ba Bloemfontein, hala Hater Freedom Day, hater Freedom Day, hater. Thank you very much. Ke batla ke dumedise mo presidente wa rona e re mo ratang kaofela ntate Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Dumela ntate Ramaphosa, dumela. Ha tsamai a le one fela, o tsamaya le di minister tsa hae bo Mackenzie ba teng mona. Ke batla ke qale ke dumedise dikgosi tsa rona. Last time ke jile phoso ke re dikgosi di eme batho ba ba bone. Peace ka re monna, minister, you can't make the chief stand up. You are not a chief. So one day when I'm a chief, ke batla dumedisa dikgosi tsa rona. We have a special guest. I'm coming to the special guest. I want to greet Mewa Mona, very dynamic woman, Ma Queen. Ma Queen, ba bone hantle ma mona ba bona outfit ya ye. Ba bone hantle. Ke me a rona wa mo province. Ha ke fitla Bloemfontein ke tshakela family ya ka. Tshwantse ke phone mayor mona. Mayor ya rona ntate Gregory a ene batho ba bone ka tai ya o rete. God and you, the minister, they are very fashionable. Very fashionable. Can the GNU ministers just stand up and deputy ministers, Patubali Bone, people want to see you. Can all the ministers stand up? We also want to see which ministers are not here for my register. Allah, ministers, Allah. Allah, DMs, Allah. I also want the engine. I want to greet the engine. I want to greet the DG. DG, please rise up. Engine Yarona. Allah, DG, Allah. Get DG a president. DG. I also want to show the president I also have a DG. I am a DG. Allah, DG, Allah. We want to thank the generals that are here. We want to thank the admirals that are here. Most importantly, we appreciate all the ambassadors and high commissioners that found it worthy to come and celebrate Freedom Day, Lirona. Can all the ambassadors, high commissioners, please rise so our people can give you a good South African welcome. Allah, ambassadors, Allah. Thank you. These ambassadors are a testament that there's no genocide and all these things you are reading. We are a peaceful country. Freedom. was signed, Mandela was released. The person that signed for his release was F.W. de Klerk, President F.W. de Klerk. Today, his wife can live. Can you please stand up, Mrs. de Klerk? Allah, Allah, Mrs. de Klerk, Allah, Allah. Thank you for being with us today, Mrs. de Klerk. Let me use my last 3 minutes to share something very important with you. Zimbabweans, Cyril John Rhodes has stolen as the Zimbabwean soapstone bird. It was something very sacred. It's the most sacred artifact coming out of Zimbabwe. Cyril John Rhodes took that soapstone bird, he took it to his room where he's sleeping. He looked at that thing before he sleeps and when he wakes up, because the Zimbabwean soapstone bird moves between life and death according to ancient history. He believed to defeat the Zimbabweans, he must take the soapstone bird. For 30 years and more, Zimbabweans has been trying to get back the soapstone bird. South Africa refused to give it back. That's a fact. Because how do we explain the fact that this bird has done in 30 years. Lastly, you know, I was outside government. When you are outside, it's easy to criticize. When I read one day, Mr. Kubai, I read President Ramaphosa is starting an electricity minister of electricity. Kiri, bat kadile no, bat kadile kadi nonsense zabone. Wani guy batu badali Minister of Electricity. Jigi Sputler has stopped load shedding because he was appointed by the president. Karitula, we no longer speak bad. Yabubedi. Madlanga. I ran there. But they were talking about McKinsey's. Kiri, whoo, Mutimo Muhulu. So, but to one free start, King Wana free start. King Wana was singangata perecho mangahung. I want to say to you, we are being led. We are being led. Our president and his leadership, for the first time, we have 10.8 million tourists coming to South Africa. I clap at one day, only president without clapping mato. The rand has stabilized. We are now creating jobs. So I'm going to repeat what I always said. Freedom was tested in 2024. To the ambassadors, I want you to know, the biggest test for our freedom happened in 2024 when the African National Congress moved under 50%. The president never disputed the election result. Never disputed the election result. If it was in Africa, some countries in Africa, and I'm saying it, the army would have been on the street, the generals would have been called, it would have been a mini war. But I want to congratulate the president for standing there and said, we've gone under 50%. What does our constitution demand of us in an event where the voters took us under 50%? Nothing must tell you the strength of our freedom than we've withstood the majority party going under 50%. It's not an easy thing. There was no war. The generals was going around with a normal day. Nobody was called in an emergency meeting by the president. He accepted the result. And the government of national unity was birthed. So you must never take this freedom for granted. People died for this freedom. And today we are celebrating this freedom. With those words, anybody stands up today in South Africa, you can criticize the president. You will not be arrested. That tells you how strong is this democracy. But we seem to take that for granted, that our democracy has matured. And I want to say to the president, continue to lead us until 2029. And those that harboring hopes that the president will not be here 2029, Walora, you are dreaming. He's going to lead us until 2029 so that he can take this project further. With those words, I want to thank the president for coming here today and saying this province as an important chapter in the history of our country. And please stand to your feet to welcome my president, your president, our president, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Hala, president, hala, president, hala. President Chantaru Kinyakapina.
Bodi mohalite hai ta yo matata yo modimo Ohio. Martha, you still want more?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ke a leboha. A re duleng fatshe. Ke qala ka ho leboha batho ba mona Freistata Mangaung. Ke lebohe le ba tsamaisang mosebetsi ona wa kajeno. Ke dumedise di-minister le di-deputy minister tsa rona. Minister Gayton Mackenzie, e a leng yena o etang pele di-minister le di-deputy minister tsa rona ka tsatsi lena le bohlokwa, yena a le minister wa sports, arts and culture. Ke dumedise tona kgolo ya rona mona Freistata, Mme Queen Letsoha Matae. Ke dumedise le majoro wa rona wa mona Mangaung, le di-councillor tse a sebetsang le tsona, le bo majoro ba ditoropo tse ding hona mona Freistata. Ke rata ho dumedisa Mme Elita de Klerk, o a le mona hara rona kajeko lena. O ne a le mofumahadi wa ntate FW de Klerk, o ileng a ba presidente ya naha ya rona la e ne le ka tlasa mmuso wa kgathallo, FW de Klerk. I extend my greetings to premiers who are here present and our MECs, members of parliament who are here present, members of the judiciary, representatives of Chapter 9 institutions, Marena rona le morena o moholo, Ntate Mopedi le mme. Ke dumedise le baruti, our faith-based and community leaders, members of the diplomatic corps, General Rudzani Mapwanya, the Chief of the Defense Force, South African Defence Force, and members of the military command, DG Baleni and other DGs who are here present, and senior government officials and distinguished guests and fellow South Africans. Dumelang kaofela lona. Ke re dumelang. Ai ka re le lona le kenwe ke serame tjena. Wa bata mona Freistad. Ne ke tlameile ho ba le nna ke tlile le sena marena. Ke le ka utlwa ho bata haholo ke le Lesotho mane. Ke ne ke apere jase, batho ba Lesotho jwale ba ntsheha. Ba re ha o tla Lesotho o ska tla o apere jase o apare kobo. Ke bona morena o moholo ke ona le marena ba apere dikobo. Le nna ke kopa yaka. I greet you all on this, our Freedom Day. 32 years ago, on the 27th of April, 1994, South Africa was born. The morning of the 27th April did not begin like any other ordinary day. It began with great anticipation, excitement, and a determination by millions of South Africans to participate in the birth of a new nation. I'm sure for those who were there and were able to vote at the time, the moment the sun rose, all of us felt that there was magic and electricity in the atmosphere. Before sunrise, millions of our people stood in long queues. They were young and old, rural and urban, black and white. Many were exposed to the weather elements, such as rain and burning sun, but they waited with patience, pride, and dignity to cast their votes for the very first time. It was on a day like today, the 27th of April. More than 20 million South Africans participated in the election, an election that was peaceful, an election that was fair. It was a celebration of the human spirit and its capacity to overcome adversity. It is an honor to mark this occasion here in Bloemfontein, Mangaung, where the flame of freedom was lit. It was here in Mangaung that the African National Congress was born in 1912. Thousands, mostly women and children, died in those concentration camps here. Their suffering stands as a shared, though unevenly remembered chapter of South Africa's past, one that calls for remembrance, honesty, and humanity. When we hear about concentration camps during the Anglo-Boer War, we often hear about how the Afrikaners suffered mostly. We never hear about the thousands of Africans who died in the concentration camps of hunger, of disease, and of losing their possessions and being displaced. This is a province, the Free State, with a history of courageous resistance. Women from the then Orange Free State were amongst the first to rise against the extension of the past laws in 1913, with protests breaking out in Jagersfontein, in Wynberg, and also here in Bloemfontein. They were arrested and imprisoned, and their families were left without caregivers. Instead of being broken, the women of the Orange Free State today, became more determined because they would not accept a system that denied them dignity and freedom. And today we celebrate that here in the Free State, the struggles that were waged by the women of the Free State, and indeed in many other parts of our country, have succeeded. And today, here in the Free State, we have a woman premier who is an inheritor of the struggles that were waged. Me Premier Rao leboa ibile re leboa le mesebetsi o e etsang o le Premier ya Free State. A re malibongwe. Minister Mackenzie re ska ba le mona. This was the site of, in this province, of the Witshoek Peasants' Revolt of 1950. The peasants and farmers of Witshoek revolted against the apartheid government's oppressive land control policies. This was one of the most significant acts of resistance in rural South Africa. The revolt was about the livelihood of rural people regarding their cattle, their wealth, their security, their identity, their land, and their dignity that an oppressive government wanted to destroy. The Witshoek Peasants' Revolt demonstrated that the struggle for freedom was also fought in the valleys, in the fields, and in the hearts of rural communities. It was fought by farmers in the rural areas, by families and ordinary people who chose courage over silence. It was in this province that the people of this province, in a town called Brandfort, took Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela into their hearts and gave her comfort when she was banished away from her home in Johannesburg to Brandfort in 1977. History is often told through great speeches and great events, but sometimes history is most told in a powerful way through the chapters that are written by ordinary people who choose humanity over fear. When Mama Winnie Mandela was banished to Brentford, the apartheid rulers thought they were isolating her, but they also thought that they were breaking her spirit. And they also thought that they would extinguish her influence. The people of Brantford, a small town in this province, did something quite remarkable. They did not let that voice to fade. They carried it forward. They strengthened that voice, Ya Mama Winnie Mandela, and they made it their own. They united in compassion, and that became stronger than the system of apartheid itself. Last month, we laid to rest a son of this province, the first premier of the Free State, and a stalwart of the liberation struggle, Ntate Musiwa Terale Kota. He was a brave and principled leader who served this country with distinction. So Mona Freistata, ke province ya dinatla. This is a province that has been blessed with people who are courageous, people who fought for our freedom, people who resisted oppression. And it is fitting that today we should hold our Freedom Day here in this place where the spirit of freedom was born, here in this place where the people of the Free State waged a struggle against oppression and apartheid. Now, on this Freedom Day, we honor the memory of all those here in the Free State who fought. And today we recall the words of our first democratically elected president, who at his inauguration, when he said, "The time for healing the wounds of the past has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us." On that first day of our freedom as a nation, we entered into a social contract together as a nation to build a society that's anchored in human dignity, in equal rights, and in freedom for all. 30 years ago, the Constitution of our Republic, the legal foundation of that contract, was signed into law. That Constitution became our birth certificate as a nation. Our Constitution, which is widely regarded around the world as one of the most progressive, visionary, and influential constitutions ever adopted, is a powerful promise about freedom and stands as our collective shield, protecting the freedom our people fought for. Tukuluho ena eri na leng yona, eri fumaning ka tsatsi la ho vouta ka di 27 tsa April, ke tukuluho e bohlokwa haholo, e ngwetsweng tokomaneng e bohlokwa e leng motheo wa naha ya heso. Out of struggle came freedom. Through our Constitution, we have entrenched that freedom. It is the unshakable foundation of our nation. We have come far as a nation. We stand here today not only as citizens of a democratic nation, but as custodians of a hard-won legacy of freedom. A legacy won in struggle, a legacy shaped by sacrifice, legacy shaped by courage and an unbreakable belief in freedom and justice. That is the legacy we have. Tukuluho ena e re nang le yona, ba bang ba ne ba sa kgolwe hore re tla ba ra lokoloha. Empa bongata ba batho ba heso mona South Africa ba ne ba tseba hore tokoloho ya rona e tla fihla. There was a time in this country when freedom was not a right but a dream. There was a time in this country when a few people were free and were regarded as citizens. Many were not free. It was a time when voices of many people were silenced, where dignity was denied to millions who were excluded from the life of the country that they called home. But our people refused to accept that fate. They organized, they resisted, they endured, and they finally won their freedom. And in that struggle, they made a simple but powerful declaration that the people of South Africa shall be free, and that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. When freedom came, it was not a political transition. It was a moral transformative moment. And at the center of that transformation stands our Constitution. It is not just a legal document. It is a shield against injustice, a foundation for unity, a foundation for equality, a promise to every citizen that through it, South Africa will never be governed by exclusion. Dignity will never be denied to the citizens of South Africa, and freedom will never be reserved for a few. Our freedom that we are celebrating today resulted, and the right to speak that we have resulted from struggle. The right to move around and to belong resulted from struggle. In the past, you all know we were not allowed to move anywhere where we wanted, to live anywhere where we wanted, to work anywhere where we wanted. The freedom that we won on this day 32 years ago freed us. It unleashed the possibility for us to enjoy the freedom that we have. The right to live with dignity was won when we won our freedom. Our Constitution ensured that freedom is not a slogan, but a live reality. In the 32 years of our democracy, we have built a progressive constitutional democracy, firmly anchored in the rule of law, with an independent judiciary that serves as a guardian of the rights for all. We have expanded access to housing, to healthcare, to education, to water and electricity on an unprecedented scale. We have transformed our education system that was used as a weapon to perpetuate oppression, making sure that universal access to education was denied to the majority of our people. Freedom has now made it possible that we have universal access to education. And we have done so by opening up the doors of learning. Our children, many of them now go to no-fee schools. A go sa patalwa school fees dikolong tse ngata ka hobane ka freedom ena. We have especially expanded that access to education to the poor and to working class parents and households. Our National School Nutrition Program now feeds more than 9 million learners every single day. In some schools, twice a day. Bana ba ja ha ba ya dikolong. Bana ba kena dikolo hantle. Re ntse re nyolla thuto ya bana ba rona. Freistata mona for dilemo tse tlhano. Freistata e ne ntse e tswa number 1 for the matric results. E tla khutlela hona mono hape. Through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, we have made tertiary education accessible to students from low-income households. Bana ba rona ba bangata ba kena di college, di university. University ya Freistata mona, ne ile university ya makgowa fela. Ho setse ho kena batho ba bantsho ka bongata ba bona. Ba etsa tjena ka hobane ka NSFAS mmuso ona wa ba thusa. Last year we recorded the highest matric pass rate in the history of South Africa. Freistata e tswile number 2. E tla khutlela ho number 1 hape. Eo ke a e tseba. Since the dawn of our democracy, we have steadily worked to expand access to quality healthcare for all. We have built clinics and hospitals, provided free healthcare to pregnant women and young children, as promised by Ntate Nelson Mandela. We have reduced child mortality and increased life expectancy. Now we are working together to establish the National Health Insurance, the NHI, so that every person in this country has equal access to quality health care, regardless of their ability to pay. We are making progress on land reform, restoring land to many of those who were dispossessed of their land since the introduction of the 1913 Native Land Act. And we are continuing to support productive lives for many families who work the land. The Free State is one of the provinces that is leading the country in providing comprehensive agricultural support to emerging and aspiring farmers. Over the last 32 years, we have used our broad-based Black economic empowerment policies to expand the participation of Black South Africans, of women, and people with disability in the economy. People who were legally and by convention prevented from participating meaningfully in the economy of their country are now able to participate in a more meaningful way in the economy of their country. The women of our country are now participating in quite a significant way in the economy of our country. And all this happens because we won our freedom on the 27th of April in 1994. We have begun to redress the economic injustices of our past, expanding ownership, expanding control, and the management of the economy beyond just a privileged few. The progress we have made is evident in the improvements in the income and quality of life of Africans, colored, and Indian South Africans, and the gradual reduction in income equality between the races. But this is not enough, as we all know. There is much more that needs to be done. Jeka me premier na cho akota President Mandela Ari, I have climbed this hill, and as I look around the vista, I can see there are many more hills to climb. There are many more rivers to cross. That is why we are working to strengthen our policies, particularly to strengthen our BEE policies to make them more effective, more efficient, to ensure that they actually deliver the fundamental changes that our economy needs. And we do so also by training our young people, by making sure that we train them for the jobs that they will work in. Dignity means that people must be able to also live free from the fear of violence and crime. To give greater effect to our freedom, we have dedicated greater resources and effort to tackling organized crime, gangsterism, gender-based violence, and other forms of violent crime. We are reforming and strengthening the criminal justice system. We are rooting out corruption and building a police service and a prosecuting authority in which people can have trust and confidence. Mesebetsi e etsiwang ke di-commissione tsena tse re di theileng, go tshwana le commissione ya Judge Madlanga. Di-commissione tsena tse ding ke tsona tse tlo thusang hore re kgone ho tseba hore ba senyang ke bomang. Mashodu ana re a tsebe hantle, re kgone ho a ntsha, ba kene dinyeweng tsa bona, ba felle tjhankaneng. Ke ona ntho e re etsang eno. So beyond our freedom, so that our freedom can mean what freedom promised us in 1994, we are doing a lot of work to rebuild, to reposition our country. And of course, there are challenges along the way. We will meet obstacles, but as our forebears struggled for this freedom and succeeded, we too will succeed in rebuilding and repositioning our country. We call on all South Africans to be part of this work, to build communities, to build homes and schools and workplaces that are safe and secure. And today, we also have our South African National Defense Force. The Defense Force normally has a mandate of defending the people of South Africa and the country against enemies that will come from outside. That is the key mandate of the Defense Force. But our Defense Force has become quite multi-skilled. They are the Defense Force who helps us when there are disasters, when there are natural disasters, when there are also pandemics. The Defense Force comes to the fore. Now, as we are now fighting those who participate in illegal mining, our Defense Force has been helping our police. Now that there's gang violence and gangsterism, we have called on our Defense Force to come and play a supportive role to assist our police. So through all this, we are rebuilding. We are repositioning our country to make it the country of the dream that we had for freedom, a freedom which we won on the 27th of April, 1994. Today, we take the opportunity to reflect, to renew and reaffirm our commitment to the social contract we entered into 32 years ago. Kaobani, kadi 27 it's April 1994. Kaofela rona ha re ne re lo vouta, ne re signa kontraka ya hore tukuluho ena e tla ba e re etsetsa eng. It is a contract or a compact that demands active citizenship. It demands democratic oversight, but it is also demanding that the state must deliver justice, services, opportunity, and dignity in return for the public trust that our people invested when they got their freedom. This is a solemn agreement that must be renewed in every interaction between the state and the people of South Africa, to whom the state is accountable, in every service delivered and in every life that is improved. The government of the national unity is determined to drive inclusive growth and job creation, and to reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, and to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. This means we must address and overcome the many challenges that are facing our country today. Failing water infrastructure, collapsing municipalities, and the deteriorating services, and all the other inconveniences that South Africans are living under. They directly affect the quality of the daily lives of our people. They constrain the growth of businesses and the economy and the creation of jobs. Our resolve to strengthen local government provides an opportunity to transform our municipalities and make them better run, more efficient, more responsive to the needs of our people. Selemong sena re tla ba re ya dikgethong hape, dikgetho tsa ho lo kgetha makhansela a rona le bo majoro ba rona. Ka kgetho leno ho tlameile hore bana ba re tsebang hore ke ba tswafa, ke batho ba tswafang, batho ba sa sebeletseng setjhaba, bao ba utswang tjhelete, re ba ntshe, re kenye bano ba re tsebang hantle hore ba tla sebetsa. Dikgetho tsena tse re yang ho tsona di tla re fa monyetla wa hore re ntjhafatse tsela e bommasepala ba rona ba sebetsang ka yona. This is important because the truest test of our democracy is whether freedom translates into material change in the lives of our people. Dignity starts with the most basic things: a roof over one's head, clean running water, reliable electricity. Freedom is about the ability to go to a clinic when one is sick, to have a school for one's children, and being provided with an age-old pension. Advancing human dignity is the promise of our Constitution and the fundamental value from which all other human rights flow. It is in pursuit of this fundamental value that we set out in the 2026 State of the Nation Address an ambitious economic agenda anchored in massive infrastructure investment, structural reforms, and economic transformation. We are removing obstacles to investment, making our economy more competitive, fixing our key state-owned enterprises like Eskom and Transnet. We are working with all our social partners to grow industries that will create jobs, such as agriculture, such as reviving mining, even here in the Free State, improving and expanding tourism, manufacturing, renewable energy, and digital industries. It is to advance human dignity that we continue to act without fear or favor against those who undermine the promise of our freedom. Every rand that is stolen is an attack on our democracy. Every project that is not completed is a betrayal of a community. Ki ile ka fihla mona Freistata dibekeng tse fetileng, Premier le Minister wa Housing Settlements, Human Settlements, ba ile ba nkisa dibakeng tse ngata mo go ne go qadilwe di-project tsa dintlo tse sa qetwang. Batho ba ne ba tshwanetse gore ba qete di-project tseno, ba filwe tšhelete, ba ba balea le tšhelete ba sa qeta di-project tseno. Go na le dibaka tse ngata mona Freistata where projects have just been left without being completed. Now that is wrong. That is what we are going to stop. For how fiwa monyetla wa ho etsa project, o iqete, o ska utswa tšhelete, o sebetse, o be o qete project yeno. Now we will not rest until those who have hollowed out our institutions and diverted public resources for private gain are held accountable. No society can be free and equal while women and children continue to live in fear. We must therefore do more to end gender-based violence. When we held the Free State's Men's Indaba here in Bloemfontein last year, as it was organized by the Premier and the leadership of the Free State, I said South Africa does not need a so-called new generation of men. It needs the men and boys of this generation to do better and to be better. We need men who are protectors of women, not perpetrators. Men of South Africa must stand up and be counted and say, not in our name. Men of South Africa must be free men and be able to respect the free women and young women of South Africa, men of South Africa, do not abuse the women of this country. And that is why gender-based violence must be brought to an end. And it is the men of South Africa who must stop gender-based violence. That is the challenge that we, the men of South Africa, need to take up on this Freedom Day. We must grant the women and young women of our country their freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from violence, freedom from rape. We do not walk alone in this freedom, fellow South Africans. And we did not walk into this freedom on our own. We were carried by a tide of solidarity from the nations of the world, from the nations of Africa. These countries opened their borders to our liberation fighters. When the apartheid government was pursuing our liberation fighters, they ran to a number of countries around the world, but especially on our continent. They shared their stories with our neighbors, and our neighbors shared their spaces with them, and they gave them safety. They even fed them. They gave them bread, and they opened their homes. They spoke for us when we could not speak for ourselves. They took risks so that we could be free. Their countries were bombed. Their nationals were killed. And all that they did for our sake as well. They supported our freedom. The leaders and the people of Africa kept our freedom alive and our struggle for freedom alive. It cannot be and must never be that we trample into the dust the African fellowship that made our freedom possible. We are a people who live the value of Ubuntu. We should never allow the legitimate concerns of our communities about illegal migration to breed prejudice and hatred towards our fellow Africans. We should not allow that to happen. Yes, we all have concerns, as many other countries in the world have concerns about undocumented and illegal migrants. We must not allow these concerns to give rise to xenophobia, to give rise to hatred that is directed towards people from other African countries or any parts of the world. We are South Africans. We cannot be driven by hatred towards others. Others gave us compassion. They gave us support. And we cannot be driven by hatred towards them. Instead, we must insist that the law of our country be upheld and enforced. That is why we are clamping down on illegal migration and on businesses that flout the law by hiring undocumented persons at the expense of our citizens. I spoke about this during the State of the Nation address. We are actively rooting out corruption in our immigration system. We know that a number of people who have come in illegally into our country were allowed by some, not all, officials who have had corrupt tendencies. We will not allow people to take the law into their own hands. We extend hospitality to those who are guests in our country with the expectation that generosity is honored with respect for our society and its laws. And we say to those who are here legally, respect us as South Africans, respect our laws, respect our conventions and our traditions, as you would want us to respect the laws and traditions of your own country. As a nation that defeated colonialism and apartheid through international solidarity, we carry a responsibility to advance constitutional values beyond our borders. So we then therefore say, yes, let us allow our laws to take their course. We have already set in place the way in which we will be able to deal with those who are in our country illegally. We remain committed to multilateralism, to respect for international law and principled diplomacy. International law was born from the devastation of global conflict. It is a shield for all countries in the world, regardless of their size or influence. True multilateralism demands respect for diversity while remaining firm in the core principles of sovereignty, of human rights, of freedom, of accountability, and peaceful coexistence. This Freedom Day, which we cherish so much, stands as a reminder that political liberation was never the final destination. It was the beginning of a longer journey towards economic freedom and social justice. Let us continue working together, sparing neither strength nor courage, to complete the unfinished task, which is the realization of our freedom that is grounded in justice, in dignity, and prosperity for all. Our future will not be built by forgetting where we come from, but by acting with courage on what we have learned, united by one constitution, bound by a collective responsibility to each other, and in pursuit of a shared destiny. The freedom that we are celebrating today belongs to all of us. And I've often said, this freedom we have won also freed those who were our oppressors, because as they were oppressing us, they themselves did not have real freedom. And today, all of us are free, but we now need to work harder so that all of us can enjoy the real fruits of the freedom we struggle for. This freedom does not belong to one party. It does not belong to one generation. It belongs to all the people of South Africa, past, present, and future. So let us protect it. Let us uphold this freedom. Let us live by it. And so, as we reflect on how far we have come, all of us need to look to the future that we must build together, remembering that the freedom we enjoy today was never handed to us. It was fought for by our people and secured forever by our Constitution. Let us be worthy of that freedom. Let us deepen it. Let us defend it. Let us ensure that it is felt by everyone. Ha tukuluho ena re ka etsa hore re atise ibe tukuluho e feleletseng. South Africa ena e tla ba South Africa entle. Ka mantswe ao ke re, may God continue to bless our country. May God continue to protect the people of South Africa. May God continue to advance our interests. Morena, a boloke setjhaba sa heso, a se hlokomele. Ke a leboha.
Ha re shapeng matsoho haholo. Bomme di diesang. Le utlwile molaetsa wa presidente. Le utlwile. O re hanyane. Kancane. Sizophumelela. A re mo shapela matsoho hape. Ra leboha president. Ra leboha. Ha re tlo bitsa ntate Ndu hore Masilela hore a tlo re fa mmino ne. Re leboha president for